Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 2 of Jacky Ha Gets the Last Laugh. Let's continue where we left off. Chapter 27. Oh, you poor parents, Ashley sighs at me on Saturday afternoon. First, they're literally poor. Otherwise, hello, you wouldn't be a charity case. Second, they're driving all the way up from New Jersey to see you play a fried egg. When she says New Jersey, it sounds like she's talking about a contagious tropical disease, the kind that would give you a rash. Too bad you didn't take my dance rehearsal more seriously, she continues. Just think, you could have been on stage with me. Instead of being a goofball washout, you could have told your children about how, once upon a time, you were on stage with the one and only Ashley Jones. Sad, so sad. She struts away and Brooklyn comes over to buck me up. Don't let Ashley get under your dome, Jacky, she says. She's just a major buzzkill. We're in the Barn Theater. Every show in the Saturday Night Showcase was given a time slot for its technical rehearsal. That means we're running through the sound and light cues and rehearsing in our costumes. Yes, that also means I look like a fried egg and Brooklyn looks like a dog. I mean, she's in a dog costume, not that she's unattractive. In fact, Brooklyn is super pretty. She's in that Latoya Sharon glam girl league. Ashley, with an exclamation point, gets the first tech rehearsal, even though it will be the last performance in the showcase because, as Mr. Beastly puts it, you always save the best for last. Guess who'll be up first? You guessed it, me and the 2 strips of bacon. And, in the middle of our tech run-through, we had the last spot for that. One of the bacon bits quits. I just don't feel the sputter, she tells Brandon. So, yep. The playwright has to slip into the role with no rehearsal. Fortunately, he knows all the lines. He should. He wrote them. I have to climb a 12-foot ladder and jump onto a dark gray trampoline. It's our cast iron skillet. I'm kind of happy that I had Trial run up the tree with a raccoon. 12 feet up a ladder is nothing compared with that. My whole family is set to arrive at Camp Footlights around 7:30. Curtain is at 8, so I can't say hi until after the show. 7:30 is a half-hour call. That means we have to be in the dressing room, not out front greeting our fans and family, which in my case are one and the same. I cheat a little and look out one of the dressing room windows. They're high, narrow, and tilted open to let in a cool summer breeze. I have to climb up on a chair to reach one. Peering out into the parking lot, I can see Mom, Dad, and all my sisters. Another car pulls in right beside theirs. It's Mrs. O'Mara with some of the Seaside Heights Theater kids. Bill, Jeff, and Dan. I top of the glass and wave. Hey, you guys! I'm about to whistle when Queen Ashley speaks from her place at the makeup table. Greeting the audience before the show is so unprofessional, she advises everybody within 10 yards of her makeup mirror. I hop off that chair so fast, I almost twist my ankle. That is not what they mean when, for good luck, they tell you to break a leg before a show. That saying has something to do with bending your knee when you take a bow, or ancient Greek audiences stomping their feet instead of clapping their hands. There may have been an orthopedic surgeon involved in coming up with the expression too. No one really knows. By the way, Ashley's place at the makeup table is twice as wide as anybody else's, and she has 3 times the number of light bulbs framing her mirror. That's where Caroline Jean Risvold used to put on her makeup, Michael tells me as he helps up zip the back of my egg suit. The star of the summer always gets that spot. So at least I know where in the Barn Theater dressing room I'll never be sitting. Brandon comes in, wearing his bacon costume. Stephanie Douglas is with him. They both look delicious. Brandon hands Stephanie a small squirt bottle. Squirt some of this under your arms and behind your ears, says Brandon. Why? Asks Stephanie. So you'll smell like bacon. This is immersive theater. We're going for the total sensory overload. Fortunately, Brandon doesn't have any spray that will make me smell like an egg, fried, rotten, or otherwise. You ever wonder, why do we cook bacon but we bake cookies? And we thought Ashley was going to be the biggest ham on the stage tonight. But let me just say, waiting backstage with Brandon and Stephanie to open the Saturday showcase, remembering that I skipped dinner because I was nervous and breathing a delicious hint of bacon, your mother got hungry, girls. Super hungry. Chapter 28. I'm happy to report that I got some pretty big laughs. Sure, Brandon gave me all sorts of punny lines. He may be a genius, but come on, he's 10. I tell the audience that being an egg isn't all it's cracked up to be. When it's time to climb the ladder, I'll say, I'll scramble up it. I mug a funny enough face to cover the corn popping out of my mouth. and people forget what I just said. I do pick up a few more laughs at the top of the ladder when I look into the dusty spotlight beam and ask the heavens above, oh, why do hens lay eggs? When no answer comes, I shake my fist and shout my own answer into the dark void. Because if they dropped them, they'd break. I sell it hard and earn a huge guffaw. Then the bacon strips call up to me. Do you think this outfit's too heavy? Asks Brandon, turning around so I can examine the marbled backside of his bacon costume. Chip in, he and Stephanie shout. They also make snap, sizzle, and pop sounds. They're the porkier version of Rice Krispies. Have no fear, says Brandon, giving me my cue. We've both been cured. Then yes, I do my pratfall. I jump off the ladder, land on my butt, and bounce around on the trampoline. Hey, that tub of yogurt over there just insulted me, says Brandon when I settle in next to him. Really? I ask. What'd the yogurt say? It called me an uncultured swine. So how do we end this bit? Says Stephanie. That's when Brandon calls breaking the fourth wall. As part of our theater piece, we let the audience know we know it's a theater piece. Actually get to wink at the crowd. Easy, I say. It's over, and so am I. I flip onto my belly. I'm over easy. The lights dim. The crowd applauds. Kind of. I think Brandon's work might be a little too avant-garde for this audience of friends and families. Avant-garde means it's new, unconventional, and kind of weird. On the other hand, they all seem to love Ashley with an exclamation point. We had eggs and bacon. Ashley has the razzle-dazzle of song and dance. Thank goodness nobody's tossing me eggs up here for me. At the final curtain call, when all the kids of the showcase come on stage to take one big bow together, Ashley stands in the center of the line. She doesn't hold hands with the performers on either side of her like the rest of us do. Ashley's hands are busy, picking up all the bouquets of roses that people, including Mr. Beasley, are tossing at her feet. Chapter 29. I loved it, Miss O'Mara tells me after the show. It's good to see you having so much fun up there. Just keep being yourself, Jacky. No, says my big sister Sophia. Pick someone better. We're all in the parking lot saying our goodbyes. I thought it was excellent, says Jeff Cohen. Yeah, you and Brendan are a lot alike. Dan says I was exceptionally good, leaving Bill to say I made a great exit. I cock an eyebrow. Is that a pimple joke, Bill? He looks shocked. I could call him saying something bad. No, he says. I was, playing off the word exit. Oh, I say, pretending that I'm just now getting it. Well, when you explain it like that, Bill smiles. He finally realizes I'm just messing with him. My Shakespeare down the shore friends climb on into Mrs. O'Mara's car and take off. It's time to face my family. Good show, says Mom. Those kids up there are all so talented. I like the dancing dogs, says Emma. She's 6. Of course, she likes dancing dogs more than bouncing eggs. That Ashley's amazing, gushes super sweet Hannah. She can sing, dance, and act. I bet she even makes her own costumes. No, I want to say. That's all Michael. But Riley talks first. I can see why they called it Ashley with an exclamation point. It was fantastic with an exclamation point. Sophia has eyes for Michael. Who passes by towing a laundry basket? What's his name? He reminds me of Bacon because he's sizzling hot. That's Michael, I tell her. He designed all the costumes in all the shows. Huh, says Sophia. Guess everybody who looks good can't sing and perform like that Ashley Jones. Sadly, some seriously good-looking people just end up doing other people's laundry. Your friend Borkgruen can really dance, says Victoria the Great Authority, because, don't forget, she knows everything about everything. In her doll costume, she reminded me of that time you played Snoopy. Now that was a good part, in a good show. The way she says it, it's clear she thinks my egg was a bad part in a bad show. Brooklyn's my roommate, I tell her. Perfect, then you can pass on a little advice. She needs a last name. All the famous dancers have them. Paula Abdul, Ginger Rogers, Martha Graham. What about Madonna? Victoria crinkles her nose and shakes her head. She's more of a singer. If you call what she does singing, it's nearly 10:30 at night, and my family has a long drive home to the Jersey Shore. We say our goodbyes. Dad gives me a hug. I'm so glad you were able to come to this camp this summer, he says. That makes me smile. At least you'll get the showbiz bug out of your system. When school starts in the fall, you can really focus on hitting the books. So yeah, my first big showcase performance at Camp Footlights. If I listened to my family, it would have definitely been my last. That was fun, Jacky, but don't quit your day job. Oh, wait. You already did. Chapter 30. The next night, Sunday, there's a Footsie Awards ceremony at Camp Footlights. Really? I think. This session has only been going on for a week and they're already handing out awards? They do it every week after the Saturday showcase, Brooklyn explains. The next Saturday, there won't be a showcase. Everybody will be in the same show, the Footlights Review. We do it every summer. When are the auditions? I ask. Tomorrow afternoon, says Brandon. Oh, by the way, Michael says to me, if you win an award tonight and want to keep your trophy, you have to pay for it. The ones they hand out here at the ceremony are symbolic only. Also, if you want a copy of the official photo they snap of you holding your symbolic trophy, that costs extra too. This whole Footsie Awards deal is what they call a cash cow for Camp Footlights, adds Brandon. Ever wonder how they came up with that expression? I mean, if your cow starts squishing out cash instead of milk, it might be a time to move your dairy farm to a little farther away from the nuclear power plant. The four of us are sitting at a table in the cavernous dining hall, where the award ceremony takes place. Mr. Beasley is the master of ceremonies, and yes, Echo repeats everything he says to the unlucky kids seated at our table. There isn't much suspense in any of the categories. You guessed it. Ashley Jones graciously accepts the Footsies for Best Singer, Best Performance, and Best Choreography. She shares that last one with Madame Lamond but only because Madame Lamond is a dancer and therefore extremely spry. She beats Ashley into sprint to the podium. Ashley also goes home with the Broadway-bound and superstar of the summer for trophies. I wonder about that last one. The summer session isn't over for 2 more weeks. Guess Mr. Beasley just wants to cut to the chase. Brooklyn picks up a Footsie for Best Supporting Dancer, and Michael scores one for the best use of sequence for making a star shimmer for his work in Ashley with an exclamation point. At the end of the very long and seriously boring ceremony, there's no band to play Ashley off when she gives her 5th acceptance speech. Brendan and I, along with 24 other campers, are awarded good sport trophies. When I'm a movie star, I'm going to need at least 2 houses. One for me, one for all my awards. They're basically given to everybody who didn't win anything else. Yes, girls, that was my very first theatrical award. Fortunately, it wouldn't be my last. Also, fortunately, all of us good sports didn't have to make an acceptance speech. If we did, I think I would have said, thank you, I'm mortified. And no, I did not ask Latoya Sharon to pay an extra $9.99 so I could take my plastic trophy home. Chapter 31. Believe it or not, my second week at camp starts with something fun. Brooklyn and I sign up for an acting and commercials class. It's taught by Chuck Binkley, a real advertising executive from New York City. The class is held in one of the camp's rehearsal rooms. Give a 30-second spot is a very short film, Mr. Binkley tells us. It's a chance to show millions of people what you've got. You know Brad Pitt, the handsome dude who did that guest shot on 21 Jump Street? You gotta start doing a Pringles commercial in 1988. That other guy, Keanu Reeves, the one who started Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, well, his first jobs was a Coke commercial back in '83. Commercials are a great way to polish your acting chops and make a little money while you go to auditions for Broadway shows, movies, and TV pilots. I like commercials. A lot of them are funny. Some have fun jingles like that, I don't want to grow up, I'm a Toys R Us kid. I always sing along with that one whenever it comes on TV. By the way, Grace and Tina, Toys R Us was a big, humongous toy superstore back in the days when people shopped in big, humongous superstores instead of on the internet. Acting in commercials, Mr. Binkley tells us, is all about saying the most with the least number of words. Think of them as haiku poems, compact and concise. He passes out a script for what he calls voiceover copy. That means an off-camera announcer reads it over the action of the scene. Trust me, kids, there's big bucks in voiceover. If you're the voiceover performer, you get paid every single time the commercial airs. And all you have to do is spend an hour or so in a recording studio reading a line or 2 of copy. There are only 8 words on the script Mr. Binkley passes around the room. Maxwell House Coffee. Good to the last drop. Brandon, who's in the class with us, raises his hand. Yeah, says Mr. Binkley. Question? Yes, sir. I've always wondered about this slogan. If Maxwell House Coffee is good to the last drop, what's wrong with that last drop? How'd it go bad? Well, what did all the other drops have that it didn't? Good question. I'll ask Mr. Maxwell the next time I'm at his house. But for now, let's focus on giving a line of good reading, okay? Cool, says Brandon. I'm down with that. Mr. Binkley nods at me. Why don't you go first, he says. Okay. He motions for me to come to the front of the room. What's your name? Jacky. Jacky Hart. Okay, Jacky Hart. Sell me a can of coffee beans. I study the script. I screw on my serious face. I'm ready to sell some coffee beans. Maxwell House Coffee, I say super smoothly. Good to the last drop. Mr. Binkley shakes his head. You're not selling how good it is. So I try again. Maxwell House Coffee. Good to the last drop. Another head shake. How long is it good? Until the last drop. Okay, let me hear it. I try again. Maxwell House Coffee. Good to the last drop. Can you give it more of a smile? But don't forget, the product name is the most important part of any commercial. I smile until my cheeks hurt. Maxwell House Coffee. I practically screamed the brand name. Good to the last drop. Mr. Binkley bobbles his head back and forth. He is not pleased. Try not to be so silly. You're pushing it way too hard. This goes on for about 10 minutes. Maxwell House Coffee. Good to the last drop. Try it again, but give me a little less you. For my final read, I'm whispering with friendly but knowing authority and, for some reason, emphasizing house and drop. Maxwell House Coffee. Good to the last drop. Okay, says Mr. Binkley. Good work. Let's leave it there. I think my line readings are boring him. Sorry to be late, says Ashley, sweeping into the room. I have to do a radio interview about winning all those awards yesterday. She thrusts out her hand. Where's my ad copy? And you are? Says Mr. Binkley. Ashley chuckles. She expects everybody who sets foot on the Footslide campus to know who she is. So she also expects them to want her autograph. I'm Ashley Jones, the actor who was born to read your script no matter what it says. Mr. Binkley nods. He's impressed. I like your attitude, Ashley. You've got it, kid. I just hope it isn't contagious, mumbles Brandon. Ashley gives the teacher her gimme gesture. He hands her the script. She glances at it for maybe 2 seconds. Then she says, Maxwell House Coffee. Good to the last drop. Booyah, says Mr. Binkley. Nailed it. Ashley blinks and beams. Brooklyn and I roll our eyes, especially when Mr. Binkley tells Ashley he knows a commercial agent who's looking for fresh faces with mad talent. Why do we think that Ashley Jones will be starring in Pringles and Coke commercials of her own before the summer's done? Chapter 32. We have a 2-hour break after our acting and commercials class. Well, 2 of us who aren't Ashley have a break. She has to call the commercial talent agent Mr. Binkley mentioned right away. Hey, says Brandon, when we're all just hanging out after class. We should do a parody commercial, like they do on Saturday Night Live. We should do one for Maxwell Mouse Coffee. It's good to the last drop, I say, because it's brewed from mouse droppings. Brooklyn scrunches up her face. Gross and disgusting, Jacky. What? I reply with mock shock. Mouse droppings are brown, so is coffee. Brooklyn cracks up. Hang here, you two, she says. I have a camcorder up in the room. You guys write the script? Then we can shoot it. Who gets to play the mouse? I ask. Ashley, shouts Brooklyn as she dashes back to the lodge to grab her video gear. She plays all the parts and everything. Brenda and I crack each other up, bouncing lines around with a 30-second commercial about a mouse who makes the world's most disgusting cup of coffee. The best part of waking up, I say, is something slimy in your cup. Brandon starts crooning a jingle based on the Chock full of Nuts commercials. Chock full of mouses, that heavenly coffee, better coffee Mickey Mouse's money can't buy. By the time Brooklyn is back with the camera, we moved on to a whole new idea. Brooklyn will fake drink a cup of coffee and start dancing faster and faster. We give Maxwell House a new slogan because Brenda is still wondering what went wrong with the last drop to make it no good. After she does her jittery jitterbug, which, by the way, is hysterical, Brooklyn looks down the barrel of the camera lens and says, Maxwell House, we put the perk in your percolator. Because kids, a percolator and an electric coffee pot that bubbles water through coffee grounds is what people used to use to make coffee before there was a Starbucks to make it for them. Yes, this all took place in a time when America did not yet run on Dunkin'. Anyway, we think our coffee commercial parody is hilarious. But there's only one way to be sure. We need an audience. Let's show it to Michael, I say. Great idea, say Brooklyn and Brandon. So we all tear across the open field, heading for the barn theater and the downstairs coffee costume shop. Brooklyn has the video camera. The tape inside has our commercial spoof. Michael will be able to watch it on the swing-out viewfinder. We open the staff-only door and trundle down the staircase to the basement. I'm leading the way, but I freeze when I hit the bottom step, because I hear something. It's wafting up the hall from the costume shop. It's this amazing Irish tenor voice singing a show tune. She's just a girl, an everyday girl. That's I Met a Girl, whispers Brooklyn while the voice keeps singing. From the 1960 MGM movie musical, Bells Are Ringing. Music by Jules Zhane, says 10-year-old Brandon. Lyrics by Betty Compton and Adolph Green. I'm surprised that they both know so much about classic show tunes, but I'm even more impressed by the guy singing the song. Michael, the costume shop kid, has an incredible voice, and I can't help but wonder if he's singing about me. Hey, I'm a girl. We just met. It's a possibility. Some people sing in the shower. I like to sing in my shop. It doesn't matter the hour. I'll sing until I drop. Chapter 33. We just hang at the door for a few minutes and soak up the magnificence of Michael's voice. He moves on to Some Enchanted Evening from the Broadway classic South Pacific. It's all about how, on some enchanted evening, you may see a stranger across a crowded room. And once again, I wonder if Michael is thinking about me. Sure, we first saw each other in the afternoon, not the evening, and it wasn't very enchanted. In fact, it was kind of a bummer for me, since I'd just been kicked out of Ashley's show, and the room where we met wasn't very crowded. Just me, Michael, Brooklyn, and a bunch of mannequins. But still, we were strangers when we met. He could be singing about me in code. But what's more important is how fantastically he sings. Of course he played the lead in Oliver 6 years ago. He is an amazingly talented tenor, so I have to wonder, why is he down here in the costume shop when he should be upstairs at center stage still singing under the spotlight? He hits the big finish. Once you have found her, never let her go. Michael hasn't yet seen us gawking at his back from the doorway, but when he finishes, we burst into applause and start cheering. Bravo! Shouts Brandon. Bravo! Brooklyn and I are giving Michael a chorus of woohoos. He whips around from his sewing machine. His face blushes a bright pink and not from too much sun. How long have you guys been lurking there? He asks. Long enough to know you should be back upstairs on the main stage starring in every single show, I say. Except, of course, Ashley with an exclamation point, cracks Brandon. Then again, that show should just be outlawed entirely, or at least come with a warning about how it may cause nausea. You have an incredible singing voice, Michael, adds Brooklyn. Absolutely incredible. Thanks, says Michael, dropping his eyes. I used to think so too. You used to? I say. Hello? Did you not hear yourself? Yeah, I hear me all the time. Singing is just something I do for fun now. Sure, when I first came to Camp Footlights, I thought I had talent. I guess every kid who comes here thinks that. In fact, back in the day, Ashley and I starred in a lot of junior stage shows. We were both 10 years old our first summer. She was way more fun before she went to middle school. Then 3 summers ago, she refused to be seen on stage with me. So I drifted down here. Discovered another talent, costume design. Can't you do both? I ask. Sing in shows and do costume design? I thought about it. In fact, this was the summer I was going to start auditioning again. But then Mr. Beasley was appointed the new director of Camp Footlights. In his first official act, crowning Ashley queen of everything. Michael takes a deep breath and tells us he's glad he learned early I wasn't cut out for the cutthroat world of show business. Ashley and Mr. Beasley are both right, he adds. I'm better off down here. I feel so sorry for Michael. Some very bad people, I'm looking at you, Ashley Jones and Mr. Beasley, took his dream and crushed it. We forgot all about our goofy commercial parody. We just sit and listen to Michael's sad story. Yes, girls, at that instant, your mother was seriously crushing on Michael, the costume shop kid, even though he didn't know his last name. And yes, I told your father, the young Bill Phillips, all about Michael when I was back home in Seaside Heights. Of course, I didn't tell him until, 5 years later. But I told him. 6 years ago, Ashley and I were best friends, Michael says. And then 3 years later, poof, we weren't, he sighs. It went from bad to horrible. This summer, Mr. Beasley made it even worse. He's like a helium tank constantly inflating her ego balloon. He gives us a shrug. People change. Relationships change. Dreams can change too. So is this really a dream? I ask, opening my arms to take in the costume shop. It's fun. I'm good at it. People, for the most part, leave me alone. But is it your dream, Michael? Asks Brooklyn. Yes, says Michael. Sort of. Okay, it's my fallback dream. I think everyone should have one, just in case your first dream really doesn't want you dreaming it anymore. He turns back to his sewing machine and presses the foot pedal. The needle starts pumping up and down as he feeds fabric through it. Sorry, he says. I can't really hang. I have to alter a tone of costumes this week. The All Camp musical is Saturday. Yes, the Footlights Review is the exact same show every summer, but the performers change. The costumes have to change with them. You should be in the show, I tell Michael. Excuse me? He says. You said it's a musical. He nods. It's a collection of show tunes. But you were just singing. It's true, says Brandon. We all heard you doing it. You need to go to your auditions this afternoon, says Brooklyn. Michael laughs. Ha! I stopped doing the review 3 summers ago. I don't think Some Enchanted Evening is even in the rundown. Well, I say, I think it's time you started doing the show again. It's time you showed Mr. Beasley and Ashley and everybody who you really are, Michael. You may think your first choice dream doesn't want you dreaming it, but we disagree. Because our dream is hearing you sing like that at center stage. Exactly, says Brandon. You're doing it instead of Ashley. We all give him a side-eye look. What? Did I go too far? Brandon says. I do that sometimes. It's my superpower. Chapter 34. That afternoon, we're all upstairs in the barn, that theater, ready to audition for the Footlights Review. Yes, Michael is there with us, which is why we were sitting in the last row, in the dark. I don't want Mr. Beasley to see me, he whispers. I'm supposed to be downstairs making hats for the Yankee Doodle Dandy number. I wrote my own audition song, says Brandon, with, my own lyrics, a tune I borrowed from Ashley with an exclamation point, that My Best Friend Is Me number. He starts singing badly. I think Brandon is tone deaf. Sorry, Mr. Beasley, can't you see? This is how it's gonna be. We know you may disagree, but we can't stand Ashley. No, we can't stand Ashley. You might want to sing something else, I suggest. Yeah, says Brooklyn. That didn't sound like it was written in your key. I know some songs you could sing, says Michael, very kindly. That's what Rex Harrison did in My Fair Lady. Nah, says Brandon. I'm just goofing around. I'm not going to sing at all. I'm not even going to audition. I don't have to. The camp counselors have already assigned me my role for the show. Oh, really? I say. Who are you going to be? The head usher, says Brandon. It's an audience favorite every year because the head usher hands out the programs and shows people where to sit. Besides, as you 3 just so painfully witnessed, it should probably be illegal for me to sing in public. At 3 o'clock on the dot, Mr. Beasley and Echo march on stage. Welcome, everybody, to the annual auditions for the Footlights Review, our all-camp musical. Musical camp annual auditions, says Echo. Everyone applauds. We clap along, too. As is customary, Mr. Beasley continues, we will open the show with a rousing rendition of There's No Business Like Show Business from Annie Get Your Gun. I can't wait to hear how Echo mingles that mouthful. Annie, like your rousing show business, no business, get a gun. She does not disappoint. Counselors walk through the auditorium passing out sheet music for There's No Business Like Show Business. Now go ahead and take one, even though I'm really only there to support Michael. Ashley, says Mr. Beasley, Why don't you come here and show everybody how it's done? Show done, echoes Echo. Ashley bounds on stage. The piano accompanist awaits his cue. Ashley basks in the glow of the stage light for a moment or so. Then she gives the pianist the slightest nod. He starts plinking keys. She starts belting out notes. Ashley's voice rings off the rafters. She's louder than the lady from the original Cast album I heard sing the song on Mom and Dad's record player. That lady was loud. Ashley does only 16 bars of the song, the standard length for an audition, but she is almost as good as she is loud. She turns to Mr. Beasley. Do you still want anybody else to audition? She asks. He chuckles. Echo chuckles. Yes, Ashley. The whole camp will be involved in the show, as is the tradition. Tradition, says Echo, doing it like that song from Fiddler on the Roof. You can't sing every single song in the show, Mr. Beasley continues. It's 2 hours long. You'd wear yourself out. Ashley huffs and puffs a little, then accepting the cold hard truth, exits stage right and heads to her seat in the front show. Now then, says Mr. Beasley, to streamline things, mind the stream of things, says Echo, because time is precious and I'm due over at the Beef and Boards Dinner Theater, or I am, of course, the artistic director. Camp staff and I have made some preliminary decisions. Brandon Maloney will be our head usher. Brooklyn will be the lead dancer for all that jazz. Jazz hands, says Echo, splaying out the fingers on both her hands and shaking them enthusiastically. We give Brooklyn star turn in the chorus line a hearty booyah cheer. She gives us her jazz hands in return. Mr. Beasley goes down a list of about a dozen other names and assignments, ably echoed by Echo. Finally, he gets to me. Jacky Hart, he peers out into the audience. I raise my hand. You've only been here a week, so you'll be on the Footlights Review tech crew. Follow spot operator. It'll be a great way for you to learn what it takes to star in a real show. Lindsay stands up at her seat in the front row. Because, for most of the show, you and your spotlight will be following me. Okay, says Mr. Beasley. We do have a few other singing roles. Bread and butter roles, says Echo. Maybe she's thinking about Mr. Beasley's other gig at the dinner theater. Mr. Beasley smiles at the audience, which he can't actually see because stage lights are blinding him. We'll let you come up and audition next. Brandon, Brooklyn, and I swivel to face Michael. Go on, we whisper. Go for it. Michael raises his hand and stands up. I'll go next. Mr. Beasley shields his eye with his hand. Michael? Yes, sir. He's ready to bound up the center stage and take the stage. But Mr. Beasley holds up his hand like a traffic cop to stop him. Michael stops. Mr. Beasley shakes his head. Michael, Michael, Michael. He sighs. Michael, sighs Echo. Michael, Michael. We've discussed this, says Mr. Beasley. You're not a singer. You sew stitches. See Michael sew stitches by the seashore, says Echo. The only singer we want you to think about is your sewing machine. You're supposed to be making Yankee Doodle hats, aren't you? Says Mr. Beasley. Doodle poodle Yankee Doodle, comes the echo. Michael nods. He understands. He turns around and exits the auditorium. He never gets to take his shot. Because sometimes there really is no business like show business. Other businesses are much more fair. Chapter 35. That night in our dorm room, Brooklyn and I are still streaming about what Mr. Beasley did to Michael. I think Camp Footlights was buried back in the day, says Brooklyn, like last summer, before somehow, someway, Mr. Beasley got the top job. Where'd they find him? I fume. Brooklyn shrugs. Maybe at that Beef and Boards Dinner Theater where, as he constantly reminds everybody, he's the artistic director. What? I say. Does he choreograph the prime rib and baked potatoes? Does he make sure the dessert jello jiggles in the time to the music? I hear the phone ring out in the hall. Yes, in 1991, none of us had our own personal phones and data plans. We had payphones hanging on walls. None of those phones had any apps either. Just a slot where you need to drop a cord if you wanted to hear a dial tone, subscale phones don't really have anymore. Someone knocks on our door. It's Annalise Lily Hatfield from down the hall. My phone's for you, Jacky, she says. Thanks, Annalise, I say. I hurry into the hall, wondering if everything is okay at home. Hello? I say, closing my eyes because I'm afraid a 10 o'clock call to Camp Footlights can only mean bad news. Hey, Jacky. I breathe a sigh of relief. It's my older sister, Sydney. She didn't come see my brilliant performance as the diving Ed with the rest of the family because she's taking summer school classes at Princeton University. She's a scholarship student, too, the brainy kind. Hiya, Sydney. Sorry for the late call. That's okay. I just wanted to check in with you, Jacky. Mom and Dad told me about that show you did. Scrambled eggs. Sounds wacky. I nod. It was. So, says Sydney, how are things up at camp? And boom! I'm off. That's all the setup and intro I need. Things are pretty messed up, Sydney, I tell her. There's this great kid, a guy named Michael, and he can really sing, like an angel. Not that I've ever heard an angel sing. Most of the angels I met are statues or the imaginary one on my shoulder, but you have to figure the real ones sing great, especially Harold. You know, the guy from that Christmas carol. Hark, Harold the angel sings. Brooklyn steps out of her room to give me his quizzical look. But they won't let Michael sing. And there's an angel named Michael, although usually I think he plays the trumpet. Now Brooklyn is shaking her head and laughing. Annalise Lily Hatfield comes out of her room. So does a couple other girls, but not Ashley. She's not in our dorm. As the star of the summer, she has a small private cabin. I was starting to wonder if Ashley's parents made a sizable contribution to Camp Footlights or something to make sure their daughter got the royal treatment. There's one girl up here who thinks she's all that in a bag of chips, I say, because yes, that was an expression we used for someone who was too big for their britches, because none of us knew what britches were. She gets all the lead in the shows, and the camp director? Oh, he's her biggest fan. Echo's right there with him, though. That's not her real name, it's just what everybody calls her because she echoes whatever her boss says, which is usually something gushy about that girl I just told you about. Her name is Ashley, or the exclamation point. Ashley didn't want me being a dancing dog, so I did that wacky show where I was an egg, which actually was kind of fun. Of course, this was after I climbed a tree and got spooked by a raccoon. Fortunately, my new friends rescued me. Well, actually, the volunteer fire department rescued me, but they wouldn't have known that I was up a tree if Brooklyn had found me. Not the whole bro. My friend Brooklyn. She's from Brooklyn. And man, can she dance. I look up the hall. Everybody is out of their dorms. They're all smiling at me. So basically, sis, I think we're all tired of Ashley hogging the spotlight and everybody at this camp is super talented, or they wouldn't be here. Yeah, says Annalise, and a few other members of my impromptu audience. I mean, I'm only here because Latoya Sharon thinks I'm talented. We could talk about that because thanks to Mr. Beasley, everybody already knows I'm a charity case. No, shouts Brooklyn. You're a scholarship student. Yeah, agrees my audience. You're a scholarship student. Whoa, for a second, I feel like Mr. Beasley. I have my own echo. Hey, Sydney, did you hear about the mom and dad who spent their kids' college fund on a boat? They called it the scholarship. So, Sydney, I say, wrapping up my answer, in short, camp is tough. But I'm reminded of the guy who had a job shoveling elephant poop at the circus. One night, he was complaining to his buddies about his work. My arms are tired. My shoes and my pants are a mess. I stink all the time. His friends all said, so why don't you quit and find another job? The guy looked at them stunned. What? He said. Give up my show business? My hallway audience applauds. Sydney laughs. Good, she says. You're still you, Jacky. That's what I needed to hear. We say our goodbyes. I hang up, and I realize that's what I need to hear too. I'm still me, and maybe it's time to be even more me. Chapter 36. Unfortunately, the next day, nobody really wants to see or hear much of me being there. I'm up at a catwalk that hangs over the auditorium seats. I'm in a metal box being introduced to my fellow spot. Mr. Lawrence Skaggs, the camp's tech director and Footlights Review stage manager, gives me a quick how-to lesson. This here is your super trooper, he says. It utilizes a high-intensity carbon arc lamp which will produce a snow-white circle of light that will set your spotlighted performer apart from all the other schlubs on stage with him. You can swing it left, swing it right, tilt it up and down. Your dowser here controls the intensity of your beam. The iris there controls the beam size. You can make it wider like so, or tighter like so. Any questions? Yes, I want to say. Is this the absolute worst job you can give someone who dreams of being in the spotlight themselves? But I don't. I just say, no, sir, I think I've got it. After all, I'm a reliable and uncomplaining person, a true trooper, and now I'm a trooper operating a super trooper. Mr. Skaggs, give me your headset. I'll give you your cues over this, he says, but we keep it simple. Wherever Ashley Jones goes, you follow her. And that's what I do, for 3 hours. I swing my spotlight left, I swing it right. I keep Ashley bathed in her bright circle of white. I widen it, I tighten it. I wish my spotlight were the locomotive beacon of an oncoming train, and Ashley was tied to my train tracks. Someday there'll be you in the limelight, Jacky. Great idea. Throw some lines at Ashley. She's a well-lit target. I wish I could shine my spotlight on Brooklyn dancing in the background. Even her big number, all that jazz, is sung by Ashley. So guess who gets to bathe in the bright circle? The singer, not the dancer. The only thing I hear on my headset is Mr. Skaggs coaching me to stay with Ashley, stay with Ashley. Finally, Mr. Beasley wraps up rehearsal for the day. Everybody, back here tomorrow at 3. I want you off book. I want your choreography memorized. And Leonard? Yes, comes Mr. Skaggs' voice from the stage manager desk off in the wings. Working with your follow spot operator. The transitions were a little herky-jerky today. I want them as smooth as silk. Great. The head of Camp Footlights doesn't even like the way I shove a light beam around his stage. Chapter 37. After rehearsal, Brooklyn and Brandon and I head downstairs to the costume shop to see if Michael needs any help. Brandon had even less to do at the rehearsal than me. As head usher in an empty auditorium, he didn't have anybody to ush. So how'd it go? Asked Michael, running more sequined material through a sewing machine. Absolutely fantastic, says Brandon, but only if your name is Ashley Jones. Is she doing all the big numbers? Michael asks. Yep, says Brooklyn. You're the one from the Phantom of the Opera. She's playing the Phantom. I used to sing that song, Michael mutters. Well, they gave it to Ashley this year, I say, but you can't really tell it's her. The mask covers half her face. It's a start, says Brandon. You probably called snarky by kids today. I see a glitter-sprinkled cowboy hat sitting on a work table. I pop it on my head and put on a southern twang. Well, kiss my grits, y'all. I'm the Phantom of the Grand Ole Opry. I'm as country as a baked bean sandwich. Brooklyn grabs a feathered boa, wraps it around her neck, and fans herself. Excuse me, I'm Ashley Jones. Perhaps you've heard of me? Well, of course I heard of you, I tell her, miming like I need to spit out a plunk of chewing tobacco juice. Who hasn't heard of you or heard you? You sing pretty dang loud, girl. Yes, says Brooklyn. I believe you might say the sun comes up just to hear me crow. Dang, I say. You got the part of the rooster, too? Is that you starring in the Kellogg's Cornflakes commercials? Guilty as charged, says Brooklyn, banging her eyelashes and fanning herself with a hand. I took a class at camp about acting in commercials. Those other roosters at the auditions didn't stand a chance. Singing in the shower is fun until you get shampoo in your mouth. Then it's a soap opera. Before long, Brandon and Michael both jump into our scene. They pretend to be fans who want Brooklyn and Ashley's autograph. I volunteer to snap a photo of the two fanboys with their idol. Just back up a piece. A little more. A little more. They do. Don't mind that chandelier digging over your heads. They look up. I told you I was the Phantom of the Grand Ole Opry. Mwah-ha-ha-ha! I'm like I'm cutting rope. Brooklyn shrieks first. The two guys follow along. They shift into super slow-mo and shout, No! Then they mind getting conked on the heads by a crashing chandelier, like the one that plummets down and almost clobbers the audience at Broadway's Phantom of the Opera. They all make slow-motion disaster movie moves. They topple to the floor. When they're a crumpled heap, I say, Dang! Y'all look more squished than the grapes and gourd guts. And sing, calls Brandon. The three victims of the Phantom Chandelier pop up. We all laugh and applaud one another. Okay, I say. That was fun. Way more fun than following Ashley around with my stage with my spotlight. We should start a comedy improv group, says Brandon. Yes, I say, because that's the first rule of improv. You say yes to wherever your scene partners set up, and then you move the scene forward. As a man taught us that when we did You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. We should call ourselves Spontaneous Combustion, suggests Brooklyn. We should spontaneously make up scenes and songs from audience suggestions. Yes, I say again, because that's the role, and we'd feature Michael in all the songs. with improvised dances for Brooklyn, adds Michael. We could improvise a whole musical comedy from audience suggestions, says Brandon, who sounds like he's had some prior experience doing improv comedy too. And with a little rehearsal, says Michael, pulling a wadded up piece of paper out of his trash bin, we could perform Thursday night at the open mic night at the Beef and Board Dinner Theater. He smooths out to a crinkled flyer. The headline is inviting all camp footlighters to swing by the Beef and Board's Dinner Theater open mic and strut their stuff. That's not bad, adds. Or you could just cheer on Footlight's own Ashley Jones. I trashed this earlier, says Michael, because, okay, Ashley Jones. She always has her open mic. It's called This Whole Camp. This open mic night is at that dinner theater, says Brandon, crinkling his nose. The one where Mr. Beasley is artistic director? But it won't be camp, I say, so you can't tell us what we can or cannot do, I think. I mean, okay, he is the artistic director, but it's an open mic night, says Brooklyn. They have to be on that stage for anybody, even us. But a dinner theater, says Brandon. You don't have to eat the prime rib, I tell him. You just have to jump up in front of the audience and help us something great wonderful right away. Oh, says Brandon, when you put it that way. So the next day, after the Footlights Review rehearsal, we hold our own rehearsal. We work out a format for an improvised musical. How to open it, how to close it. We block out a rhyme scheme for his big musical number. We have a blast cracking one another up. Now all we need are a few suggestions from the audience to spark the scene, and a ride to the dinner theater. We need one of those too. Fortunately, the campus will be going, because Mr. Beasley wants Ashley to have a big audience when he wows everybody at the open mic tonight. He has no idea we're going to go on too. Chapter 38. Thursday night at the dinner theater, Ashley goes on first. Of course. She also wonders why I'm not up in the booth operating her follow spot. Sorry, I say. That's a dinner theater. They don't have a spotlight. All their extremely hot lamps are busy keeping the prime rib warm at the carving station. Ashley gives me a look and goes on with, gasp, no spotlight. She's brilliant, of course, and loud. The pianist from Camp Footlights is there to accompany her. She sings one of the songs she'll be singing Saturday night at the Big Footlights Review, which, by the way, could change its name to Ashley with several exclamation points. It's all her, all the time. She favors us with tomorrow from Annie. When she's done, the audience applauds, politely. The only one truly cheering is Mr. Beasley at the back of the room. Most of the other audience members are making more noise with their clinking silverware than their clapping hands. The dinner theater just served dessert. It's strawberry shortcake. When the waiter spritz on the whipped cream from their spray can, it sounds like the whole audience is passing gas. From where we're sitting, it looks like Ashley wants to burst into tears as she, more or less, stomps off stage after her song. Real world audiences can be tougher than the ones where everybody knows you're the camp's director's favorite, so they better give you a standing ovation every time you take the stage, especially if they're enjoying their delicious food or dessert. Some other kids from camp perform. So do a few townies. Locals who live close to Camp Footlights. We're up at the end of the open mic show. Spontaneous Combustion takes the stage, and we improvise a 10-minute Broadway musical based on 2 audience suggestions. What's your favorite dessert? Who's your favorite comic book superhero? And yes, that's how Mr. Softy meets Iron Man is born. The audience loves it. And Michael, playing the heroic Iron Man, sings the heck out of an improvised number about rusty teeth and squeaky knees. Brandon is brilliant as Mr. Softy, especially when he meets his Frosty the Snowman demise on the first day of spring. The audience loves us. I know we did great when I see Ashley shooting daggers at us the whole bus ride back to camp. The next morning, I'm summoned to the camp director's office. My heart is melting for you. My nose is melting too. I'm just a mushy mess. Please don't drip chocolate on my dress. This is it, I think. Mr. Beasley has finally figured out that Ashley isn't his only star. He's going to work Spontaneous Combustion into the running order of tomorrow's big all-camp show. Sure, I'll run the follow spot for Ashley during all her musical numbers, but she can run it for me and my funny friends when we take the stage to wow another audience with our improvised antics. I, of course, am totally wrong. To paraphrase Shakespeare, Mr. Beasley is there to bury us, not to praise us. The sort of foolishness promulgated by you and your misguided friends at Beef and Boards is not what Camp Footlights is all about, Miss Hard, he tells me. We're serious about training tomorrow's theatrical professionals today. If you ever embarrass us like that again, you will be asked to leave camp before the end of your term. Things have changed since your benefactor, Miss Sharon, was a camper. And I will not let you and your merry band of jokesters ruin all that I have strived to build during my brief tenure here. So, yeah. Come tomorrow night, I'll be up at the rafters with my Super Trooper spotlight. I won't be anywhere near the stage. I won't be doing anything funny. I'll just be following Ashley, making sure everybody can see her be brilliant. Chapter 39. Later that Friday morning, after the open mic night of Beef and Boards, none of us are happy campers. Michael is feeling the crush of the upcoming show's deadline. He has to finish 4 more costumes for Ashley. She needs to be everybody from the Phantom of the Opera to Little Orphan Annie, she says. I, of course, want to keep our improv comedy troupe going. When we all have lunch together, I make my pitch. We could head to the city on Sunday, become buskers. I used to do that down the Jersey Shore. You do a little show. People toss spare change into your hat or cardboard box or whatever you have. Robin Williams did improv comedy on the steps of the Metropolitan Museum of Art when he was a student at Juilliard. Michael says he'll be too exhausted on Sunday to do anything except sleep. I'm going to be bowling an all-nighter tonight. There are so many scenes to be sewn. Brandon's Hills will be burned out on Sunday, too. Turns out the head usher has to fold and staple all the programs. I'll also be pulling an all-nighter. Brooklyn's another no-go. We won't have any time to rehearse or work up new structures, she says with a sad sigh. Madame Lamont is really working us hard. Unfortunately, I won't have any time to practice with spontaneous combustion either. First, I have to rehearse my fall spot moves with Ashley. Again. To make it halfway interesting, I imagine I'm a prison guard in a movie and I have to swing my searchlight to stop Ashley from escaping. When rehearsal wraps up around 3 p.m., Mr. Skaggs, the stage manager, gives me a new assignment. We need a dog, he says, to play Sandy for the Annie number. A dog? I say. I have a dog at home, but Mr. Skaggs shakes his head. We need the dog back here and trained for the 7 p.m. final dress rehearsal. Seriously? I say. Rebecca will drive you over to your nearby rescue group. They're going to let us borrow a dog. It'll be good publicity for their adoption efforts. Rebecca? I'm thinking. Who's that? Mr. Skaggs gestures to echo. Right. Her real name's Rebecca something or other. Find a dog, says Mr. Skaggs. One who looks like Sandy from the funny pages. Train them enough so they'll sit on stage when Ashley sings tomorrow. Go. Now. So yeah, I'm not just the follow the spot operator. I'm the chief dog wrangler on the props crew. It's a very quiet car ride to the animal shelter. Rebecca doesn't have much to say unless Mr. Beasley says it first. Nice car, I say. Car nice, she echoes back. And that's the end of our conversation. We make it to the shelter without her rail-chopped car falling apart. There are so many great dogs, I want to adopt them all. But I find one with shaggy hair and a sweet face that looks like Sandy in the Little Orphan Annie comic strip. I'm actually pretty jazzed about working with the dog. After all, I helped train Sandfleece when we adopted her. The rescue dog and I practice our sit-and-stay commands in the open field outside the barn theater. I snatched some chicken from the cafeteria for eating treats. The dog is fantastic, very cute and extremely quick learner. I go ahead and call him Sandy, just to make things less confusing. During the break and dance rehearsals, Brooklyn comes out to help me. Oh, wow! She gives Sandy a hug. Sandy gives Brooklyn a good face licking. I think Sandy loves Brooklyn even more than he loves me, which is fine. I already have Sandfleece waiting for me at home. I think it's cool that Sandy and Brooklyn get along so well. My sister Sophia will be so proud of you, Brooklyn. She wanted me to find a good boy at camp. A little after 7, Mr. Skaggs comes out of the theater. We're ready to work the dog into the number, he says. Come on, Sandy, says Brooklyn. I let her lead the dog into the theater. Hey, I don't mind sharing animal trainer billing with my roomie. We tell Sandy to sit and stay at center stage. Ashley comes out dressed in a red and white Little Orphan Annie costume. What's this? She says when she sees Sandy. Your dog, I say, beaming. I'm pretty proud of how I totally nailed my dog finding assignment. Sandy swishes his tail across the stage floor. He's happy to be out of his cage and with humans. Ashley spins around, looking for someone to yell at. When she can't find anybody, she focuses her fury on me. Is this some kind of joke? She says. I'm allergic to dogs. Where's the stuffed dog we used last year? We always do this number with a stuffed dog. But, I stammer. Brooklyn goes to the whimpering Sandy and gives him a hug. He's trembling because dogs pick up the negative energy when somebody angry as Ashley, when somebody is as angry as Ashley right now. Wait a second, says Mr. Skaggs, coming on stage. Mr. Beasley told me we need to have Jacky find a dog for this number. No, says Mr. Beasley, joining him. There's a smirk on his face. He is carrying a giant stuffed animal. That's Clifford, the big red dog. They give a lot of those away at the booths on the boardwalk back home in Seaside Heights. I said I'd have Jacky find the dog, as in she needed to go through the prop storage area and find this dog. But, I'm still stammering, barely able to utter one word. Get this mangy mongrel out of here, Mr. Beasley says, pointing at Sandy. Take him back to wherever you found him. No, says Brooklyn. The way she says it, Mr. Beasley knows she won't back down. Well, we can't have him on stage. Didn't you hear? Our star is allergic. Brooklyn clips a leash onto Sandy's collar. He can stay with Jacky and me. We'll take care of him. Mr. Beasley's eyes twitches. I get the feeling, and not for the first time, that he's slightly afraid of my roommate. I also get the feeling that he was trying to set me up with the whole find a dog run. I think he wants me to quit Camp Footlights. He doesn't want to tell Latoya Sharon he kicked out her scholarship student. Fine, he says. Suit yourself. Just kindly remove your dog from my stage. Come on, Sandy, says Brooklyn. I make a move to go with her and the dog. Miss Hart, says Miss Beasley. Yes, sir? Where do you think you're going? This is our final dress rehearsal. You need to be upstairs on that catwalk, operating your follow spot. I just nod. I'm afraid if I speak, I'll start stuttering, and I really don't want to give Mr. Beasley or Ashley the satisfaction of doing that to me. So I dutifully head to the back of the auditorium, where there's a ladder that leads up to my follow spot booth. Brooklyn comes along with Sandy. When we're alone together at the rear of the house, I can tell. Brooklyn has been fully activated. Mr. Beasley is a bad, bad man, she whispers. We need to bring him down, Jacky. Big time. Chapter 40. Brooklyn and I love having Sandy share a room. Brooklyn had fallen hard for the dog. She heads into town, finds a pet store, and makes sure our new roomie has foods, dog bowls, toys, everything. I talked to my mom, she tells me first thing Saturday morning. We're going to officially adopt Sandy and take him home with us when camp ends next weekend. Wow, I think. She's right. Now about her mom the dog, of course she's right about that. Duh. I mean, she's right about camp coming to an end. This is my second Saturday. I have only one more week at Camp Footlights. I can't believe I'm spending my second showcase opportunity running Super Trooper follow spot for Ashley Jones. I like being on the stage, not shining a lighthouse beacon down at it. Next weekend, I promised myself I'm going to do something spectacular. Maybe land a big part, even if I have to beat out Ashley for the role. Okay, that would be impossible. Mr. Beasley is always the final judge and jury. But maybe there will be a fun part that Ashley won't want. Yeah, impossible again. She wants them all. But I have to do something next Saturday night. I promised myself that my last shot on the Camp Footlights stage will be my best shot. This Saturday, however, I climb the ladder, put on my headset, and make sure my follow spot is ready to glow. The audience files in below me. I wait for my first cue. It comes right after the overture. It's pre-recorded on a cassette tape. There's no orchestra at Camp Footlights. Ashley is waiting in the dark in front of the act curtain. And go follow spot, Mr. Skaggs tells me over the headset. I flip open my shutter and spotlight the star of the night. My hot white light sparkles all over his sequined costume. Ashley starts belting. Michael told me that's what you call it when a singer uses her high chest voice. I'm not sure if I have one of those. Ethel Merman started doing it in Girl Crazy, Michael explained. That was way back in 1930. Yes, like a lot of theater kids, Michael knows his brother legends and lore. Tonight, Ashley's building out Don't Rain on My Parade from Funny Girl. When the show was on Broadway, Barbara Streisand sang that song. Ashley is bellowing it so loudly it's borderline yodeling. Miss Streisand might be able to hear her out in Hollywood. Life's candy and the sun's a ball of butter. Interesting lyrics. I'm guessing this song is a big hit at the local dinner theater. They have warm rolls and tiny plastic tubs of soft butter. Next comes the big hook that gives the song its title, Don't Rain on My Parade. Just when I'm wishing there were thunderstorms in the area because, come on, I've already had to sit through 2 whole weeks of Ashley's parade. There's a commotion in the wings of the stage. It's Sandy, the dog. I can make out his silhouette as his claws tick-tick-tick across the one floor. Soon, he reaches center stage and is sharing the spotlight with Ashley. Ashley gives him a look and a quick shoo gesture with her free hand. Her other hand is busy doing dramatic stuff like giving clench to a fist and waving away imaginary rain clouds. Sandy doesn't take the hint. Instead, he leaps up to Ashley's arms. Reflexes overriding her brain, Ashley catches him. The crowd goes, "Aww." They love it. Don't you dare piddle on my parade, dog. Aww. Ooh. Aww. So cute. Chapter 41. On the next verse, allergic Ashley starts sneezing. That startles Sandy, so he leaps out of her arms and scampers stage left. Now my reflexes and audience-pleasing instincts kick in. The crowd loves the dog, so I follow him with my spotlight instead of Ashley. The audience applauds. They think this is a funny bit. That Sandy's antics are just part of the Don't Rain on My Parade opening number. Maybe they're expecting him to raise a rear leg at the big finish and, rain on the red velvet curtain. Ashley, like a trained moth, accompanies the bright light on the follow spot, which I'm focusing on Sandy. When Ashley leaps back into its circle, she shoots me such a dirty look I decide to narrow my beam on Sandy's face. So Ashley bends down to share that tiny halo of white with him. That earns us more laughs. Wow, you came up with this all by yourself? The force is strong with this one. I narrow the beam even further, turning it into a bouncing white tennis ball that I send sailing left. Sandy chases after it. Ashley, still singing between sneezes, races after the dog in her diminished spotlight. The audience is roaring with laughter. Yes, girls, somehow your mother found a way to be funny without even being on stage. I swung the light to the right. Ashley and Sandy run after it. I tilted up the curtain. Sandy and Ashley take turns hopping up into my beam. Jacky, I finally hear Mr. Skaggs's voice in my headset. Jacky! I think he's been hollering my name ever since I decided to improvise with my little light show. Stay with Ashley! Stay with Ashley! I sigh as do as I'm told. I widen out the circle just as Brooklyn dashes on stage to grab Sandy. Soon, there's a new voice coming over my headset. Miss Hart, it's Mr. Beasley. Climb down from your post immediately. You and Brooklyn are to return to the main lodge and wait for me in my office. So, I guess Ashley will do the rest of the review without a follow spot. I also guess I'm in pretty big trouble. Chapter 42. Brooklyn, Sandy, and I exit the barn theater and trudge across the open field toward the main Camp Footlights Lodge. It's only a little after 8, so the sun is just starting to set. Behind us, we hear Ashley belting out another show tune. She can no longer bask in the glow of the spotlight, but the audience is showering her with applause. Sorry about that, says Brooklyn. About what? Letting Sandy run loose on stage. I kind of accidentally on purpose dropped his leash. That, of course, was after I also accidentally on purpose brought him backstage in the first place. I shrug. Hey, I didn't have to follow him with my spotlight. Brooklyn smiles. Or turn the spotlight into a glowing ball for him to chase. I figured it was much more entertaining than watching Ashley sing her way through the Streisand song. You figured correctly. I guess I shouldn't have brought Sandy to the show. Her voice drops into a whisper. But sometimes, it's like I have this little devil sitting on my shoulder, egging me on to do mean and nasty stuff, but only to mean and nasty people. I have one of those devils, too, I whisper back eagerly. Mine is a little less particular in the egging department. She'll make me do all sorts of wacky stuff, like eat all that boardwalk food before you rode all those boardwalk rides? Exactly. My little devil was very chatty that day. We take Sandy up to our room and then head down the hall to the camp director's office, where, of course, we have to wait. Mr. Beasley won't be there until the curtain goes down on the Footlights review. I'm sorry you won't get to dance tonight. I say when I realize that Brooklyn's been basically cut from the show. It was my choice, she says, or the devil on my shoulder's choice. Either way, I went along for the ride. I'm just so tired of everything up here being about Ashley, Ashley, Ashley. Who else should it be about? Mr. Beasley has stepped into his office. Ashley Jones is a once-in-a-generation talent. He takes his seat behind the big wooden desk. Brooklyn and I are sitting on the outside in short visitor chairs. It's like we're at the key table for Thanksgiving dinner. I'm the one who let the dog run across the stage, Brooklyn tells him. Mr. Beasley glares at her until his left eye starts twitching, and then his left nostril. His whole face is a herky-jerky, twitchy mess. I consider the dog's arrival on stage to be an accident preceded by a bad choice, Mr. Beasley tells Brooklyn. It was a mistake to bring the dog to the theater after we had specifically come from the Annie number. But I'm sure you didn't realize it could be dangerous for Ashley. And while I don't approve, I understand your renovation, Brooklyn. The original Broadway show was done with a real dog. You were only hoping that our rendition of the song could meet those same high standards. Unfortunately, our Annie is allergic to pet dander. And just like that, Brooklyn is off the hook. In fact, Mr. Beasley is almost applying her initiative and dedication to making the show the best it could possibly be. Brooklyn gives me a what the what sideways glance. I shrug. Once again, I get the feeling that, for whatever reason, Brooklyn terrifies Mr. Beasley. I, on the other hand, do not. And I'm his next target. Chapter 43. Which brings me to you, Miss Hart, says Mr. Beasley, his smile broadening. You were derelict in your duty to the show. Worse, you sabotaged a fellow performer while she was on stage. No, sir, I say. I just didn't want her allergies to get in the way of... He slams his fists on his desks. Pins rattle in cups. I do not care what you wanted, Miss Hart. I only care about what the show and its fabulous story need. But Ashley, it was amazing. Heavens, says Mr. Beasley with a look of disgust as I start stammering. Who is your voice and diction coach here at camp? Whoever they are, I should fire them. I don't take... Brooklyn jumps in to rescue me. We don't take voice and diction classes, she says. Not up here anyhow. Yes, says Mr. Beasley, still glaring at me. That much is obvious. Miss Hart, I know that for whatever misguided reason, our legendary alum, Latoya Sharon, thought enough of your talent to get you the spot and pay your camp fees for this summer's final session. However, I plan on calling her to tell her what you did tonight, how you violated every sacred show business tradition. When she learns of your misbehavior, I feel quite certain that she will withdraw her scholarship post-haste. I take a deep breath, try to slow my heart rate, and calling up all the tips and tricks Miss O'Mara had taught me about how not to stutter when I'm feeling stressed or flummoxed. Somehow I find my voice. It comes out steady, slow and strong. You don't have to call Miss Sharon, Mr. Beasley. Oh, yes, I do. She'll want to know that she's been wasting her money. You don't have to call her, I say, because I'm quitting. Maybe you could give her a refund for the last week. Mr. Beasley sniffs a little. We don't really do refunds. Wait, Jacky, says Brooklyn. You can't quit. Yes, I can. I don't belong here, Brooklyn. I never did. I never will. Mr. Beasley folds his hands over his belly and leans back contentedly in his squeaky wooden chair. He looks so happy. Victory is his. Had given him exactly what he was hoping for. Bye. Hope to see you again never. Would you like to use my phone to arrange transportation home? He asks. Yes, sir. Mr. Beasley gestures grandly to the clunky avocado green handset sitting on his desks. Kindly limit your call to 3 minutes. Long distance charges are astronomical. He waits and watches while I dial home. Rotary phones made the whole long distance call thing take so long. You have to dial one, then a 3-digit area code, with a 7-number phone number. There's no such thing as speed dial. You have to stick your finger in a plastic hole, turn the wheel, and wait for it to rotate back to the start 11 different times. Dad answers on the second ring and wonder what's wrong. Things just aren't working out up here, I tell him. I don't fit in. Well, he says, I guess it's good you learn that now. You don't want to waste your life chasing a dream you can't catch. That stings. Until I realize that Dad's probably remembering his days playing minor league baseball from the Oneonta Yankees. and the injury that stopped him from chasing the dream he couldn't catch, even though he was very good with his glove. We move on and work out the details. Someone will pick me up tomorrow morning. I'm going home. For me, summer camp is over. But Jacky, says Dad, yeah, no matter what new thing you end up doing with your life, you'll always be a shining star to me. That makes me feel a little better. Not much, but a little. Chapter 44. First thing Sunday morning, I'm standing in front of the lodge with my suitcase. Brandon, Michael, Brooklyn, and Sandy are all there to see me off. They all look sad. Sandy has his tail tucked between his legs. I guess I sort of do too. Don't go, says Brandon. If you leave, Mr. Beasley wins. He's just a gray sprinkle on our rainbow cupcake. Michael shakes his head. They're trying to do to you what they did to me. I know, I tell him, and it's working. Brooklyn is about to say something, but I see our dusty family van crunching up the gravel driveway. That's my ride, I tell my friends. It was great meeting you guys. I gotta go. No, says Brooklyn. You don't have to. Yeah, I do. My sisters just drove like 2.5 hours on the Garden State Parkway to pick me up. I look forward to seeing all the great things you three are gonna do. And Michael? Yeah. Sing every chance you get. Jacky's right, says Brandon. Sing out, Louise. That's a line from Gypsy. We know, say Brooklyn and Michael, because, ta-da, they're theater kids. Me, I did not catch the reference. I take it as far as the proof that I'll be better off back home doing typical middle school stuff like, oh no, I've never really been typical. Guess there's a first time for everything. My big sister Sydney was on a short break from her showing classes at Princeton, volunteered to drive up to fetch me. So, she says, as we drive away from Camp Footlights, remember that time when I thought I ruined my life because I did poorly on that one test? I nod. How could I forget? My big sister surprised us all by coming home. Then she surprised us with some more by bawling her eyes out and sobbing herself to sleep. Remember how you told me it was just a bump in the road? Yeah, I say. You said it was more like a pothole. Right. And then you told me that we can fix potholes. You just need to pour in hot asphalt. Sure, he said. The stinking pothole repairs always back up traffic and people honk their horns and shout, "Get out of the street, lady!" You told me to shout back, "Sorry, can't right now. Need to smooth out this bump in my road." Wait a second, I say. You remember all that? How can you? As I recall, you were falling asleep at the time. Only because you were telling me that little silly story, Jacky. You have a gift, little sister. You know how to make other people laugh and smile and feel better. Ha! I say, sinking down my seat and putting my sneakers up on the dashboard. Tell it to Mr. Beasley. No thanks, I'd rather tell it to you. I'll also remind you that this is not the end of the world. That's a bump in the road, or a pothole. I shake my head. No, Sydney, this is a bridge out ahead in the road. My way for it has been completely washed away by a Noah-sized flood. I have no choice but to turn around, take a detour, and find another route for life. Or, says Sydney, you could rent a boat. Then what would I do with my car? I mean, that's how I was on the road. You really don't have a driver's license. Sydney smiles. It's a ferry boat. It'll take you in your car, like the Staten Island ferry. Will I get to see the Statue of Liberty? I say, because making up a new silly story with my big sister suddenly feels better than feeling sorry for myself, which is what I've been doing ever since Mr. Beasley ordered me to climb down from my spotlight perch. We riff on the ferry boat for a few miles. Then, even though neither of us can really sing like Michael or Ashley, we sing along to Bryan Adams on the radio. Everything I do it for you. I don't tell Sydney to sing out, Louise, because for one thing, that's not her name. For another, I'm ready to leave all that showbiz theater kid stuff behind. If you don't belong to the club, you really shouldn't use their secret phrases. Chapter 45. That afternoon, back home in Seaside Heights, everything looks the same, but it feels different. It even smells different. All those delicious aromas of greasy food wafting up and down the boardwalk, they don't smell so delicious anymore. Okay, that might have more to do with my most recent barf-a-thon than my mood. But still, you ever sniff cold french fries? They never smell as fantastic as the hot and crispy ones. I'm on my bike, which I used to call it the bike because I wanted to be one of those French girls in the movies Ready to go in with the welcome basket filled with the fresh cut flowers and the long crusty loaf of bread. Then I called it La Bicicletta because I was feeling more Italian and imagined my one-speed two-wheeler was actually a Vespa motor scooter. Now I just call my bike, because I've decided it's time to move on and draw all the goofy, whimsical, fanciful junk out of my life, the way you could drain all the color out of a TV show by twisting a knob to the left. The ocean is still the ocean, the boardwalk is still the boardwalk, but I feel out of place. Like even though I've been gone for only 2 weeks, this isn't my home anymore. Like I'm the one thing that isn't the same as it used to be. Except, of course, there's my old booth. And it's definitely not the same as it was 2 weeks ago. You might recall how my old balloon race with the wire pistols and open-mouthed clown heads was about to become the smack-em whack-em arcade where you can blast all sorts of bad guys with semi-automatic squirt rifles. That happened. Plus, the new owner, that guy named Anthony, hired a new barker, someone to take my place. And of course, it's my old nemesis since kindergarten, Ringworm. He's still showing off his mohawk hairdo and heavy metal air guitar tones while snarling at the world. My clever rhymes are ancient history. Ringworm has his own brand of snappy patter. Blast 'em, splash 'em, whack 'em in the face, dudes. Or are you too chicken, bruh? Bruck, bruck, bruck. Smack 'em, wax 'em, excellent. Party time, excellent. Yeah, right. You're not worthy. You're not worthy. I lower my head and pedal away self-ash ring so Ringworm won't notice me spying on my old place of employment. When I get home, I cruise around the block several times. I really don't want to go into the house. If I do, I'll have to explain to Emma, Riley, Hannah, Victoria, Sophia, and Mom why I quit camp. Dad and Sydney already know the gist of the story. I didn't fit in. I'm not cut out for showbiz. Everybody else, especially Sophia and Victoria, will want to hear all the juicy details. At least that's what I'm thinking when I make my third loop around the block and past our front stoop. Emma, the little boss, is on the top step with her hands on her hips. Jacky, will you please quit running around in circles? I coast to a stop. My sisters come tumbling out the front door. There you are, gushes Hannah, with her hands over her heart. We're all so worried about you. You need to get in this house right now, commands Victoria. Immediately. Miss O'Mara is here, says Sophia. She needs to talk to you, and I need to talk to you about that boy named Michael, the hottie with a hair swoosh. They fired Mrs. Beasley, shouts Riley. What? Riley shouts again. Who's Mr. Beasley? Mrs. O'Mara comes out onto the porch. Jacky, don't unpack your bags. Ha, says Victoria. Jacky never unpacks until like 2 weeks after any family vacation. It's so annoying. Good, says Mrs. O'Mara. Throw your stuff in my trunk, Jacky. I'm dropping you back to your camp footlights. Now! Chapter 46. They fired Mr. Beasley? I say when we're cruising north on the Garden State Parkway. By the way, traveling back and forth like this between New York and New Jersey, I'm getting super familiar with all the rest stops and attractions along the way. One of these days, I want to stop at the Cheesequake Rest Area at mile post 124. I imagine their cheeseburgers are incredible. What with all that cheese sliding around after the Cheesequake, the board of directors took a vote, Mrs. O'Mara tells me. It was unanimous. They were not happy with campers when they heard how Mr. Beasley has been running things this summer. Someone told LaToya that Mr. Beasley was shutting down a lot of very talented kids just so he could spotlight one camper. Ashley, I say, with an exclamation point. Mrs. O'Mara nods. Don't forget, she came to that first showcase. She's seen Ashley in action. And I definitely know about Mr. Beasley spotlighting her because I was the one running the spotlight. Cheesequake. Service area 2 miles. The Cheese Barrel. Cheddar Homes and Gardens. Melted happiness. Curds this way. The Swiss Chalet. Stinky Brie. Philly Cheesesteak King. Gouda Food. Say cheese. Always our favorite place to fill up our tanks. And get some gas, too. Of course, Mrs. O'Mara continues, that Ashley's extremely talented. A true triple threat. But that doesn't mean everyone else's whole summer should revolve around her. That was kind of Mr. Beasley's plan, I say. Well, Latoya's on the board. So is that movie star Caroline Jean Risvold. There are also some Broadway producers, theater professors, all sorts of heavy hitters. When they heard how Mr. Beasley was running the place, they all took a vote. Camp Footlights is supposed to be there for all the campers, not just the teacher's pet. So Mr. Beasley's really gone? They've heard him with only 1 week left in the session? Everyone wishes that they would have known about this sooner. How he treated you? Well, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Poor camel, they say. Maybe we shall find him a chiropractor, or a back brace that would fit over his hump. And by the way, why was he hauling straws? Did the soda fountains in the desert run out? Mrs. O'Mara laughs and shakes her head. You were seriously going to quit being funny, Jacky? I shrug. I was going to try. I thought maybe I could become an accountant. Would I need to do math to become an accountant? Yeah. Look, right, cross that career off the list. So where did Mr. Beasley go? Not far. Latoya tells me he's still the artistic director at a dinner theater close to the camp. Beef and boards. Our improv troupe performed there, and yes, I tell everybody what you taught me. That makes Miss O'Mara smile. Each one teach one. So who's running the camp for the next 7 days? A recent theater arts grad named Rebecca Griswold will handle all things through next Saturday. Who's Rebecca Griswold? Latoya says she was Mr. Beasley's assistant. Oh, right. Rebecca. Never knew her last name. She's talking about Echo, the flick you took me dog scouting, even though she probably knew the dog didn't really actually need a real dog. It just needed a big red stuffed Clifford from the prop closet. I figure Echo can handle Captain Footlights for a week. She just needs to repeat stuff she heard from Mr. Beasley say all summer long, and she's golden. And of course, there's the big show this Saturday night. Miss O'Mara tells me as we cross the New York state line. There's a big show every Saturday, I remind her. True. But this is the biggest of the big, the most important one of them all. This Saturday is closing night, the grand finale. Henry Hendricks will be in the audience. Who's he? Only the most important talent agent in all of New York City. So, Jacky? Yes. I only have one question for you. The answer is yes. I do floss on a regular basis. Good. But are you ready to show Camp Footlights and the world who you really are? Are you ready to let them see the real Jacky Hart? I will if they let me. Don't worry about them, Jacky. You just need to do you. Chapter 47. Miss O'Mara drops me off in front of the main lodge. Miss Griswold requested that you see her before you move back into your room, she tells me. Who? I almost say. Then I remember. Miss Griswold is Echo. I need to come up with some way to remember that. Maybe, in my head, I'll call her Miss Griswold, Wald. Give the name an echo of its own. Will you be coming in with me? Ask with elated eyebrows, which is my way of letting Miss O'Mara know that I sure would like if she'd be my wing person on this mission. Nope, she says with a happy smile. Part of showing the world who you are is doing it all on your own. Even if people are mean to you, especially if they're mean to you. Okay, see you later? Definitely. Next Saturday. Latoya and I want to see you shine in front of Henry Hendricks. She helps me unload my suitcase, and then zoom, she takes off. None of my cramped friends are there to greet me. Maybe they've told to stay in the rooms until after my audience with the new interim camp director. So I grab my bag and trudge up the steps to the main lodge. Miss Rebecca Griswold is written on a piece of tape plastered over Mr. Beasley's plastic nameplate. I knock on the door. Chapter 47. Miss O'Mara drops me off in front of the main lodge. Miss Griswold requested that you see her before you move back in your room, she tells me. Who? I almost say. Then I remember. Miss Griswold is Echo. I need to come up with some way to remember that. Maybe, in my head, I'll call her Miss Griswold, Wald. Give the name an echo of its own. Will you be coming in with me? Ask with elevated eyebrows, which is my way of letting Miss O'Mara know that I I sure would like it if she'd be my wing person on this mission. Nope, she says with a happy smile. Part of showing the world who you are is doing it all on your own. Even if people are mean to you? Especially if they're mean to you. Okay. See you later? Definitely. Next Saturday, Latoya and I want to see you shine in front of Henry Hendricks. She helps me unload my suitcase, and then zoom, she takes off. None of my camp friends are there to greet me. Maybe they'd been told to stay in the rooms until after my audience with the new interim camp director. So I grab my bag and trudge up the steps to the main lodge. Miss Rebecca Griswold is written on a piece of cut tape plastered over Mr. Beasley's plastic nameplate. I knock on the door. You may enter, she calls out, much louder and clearer than back when she was Mr. Beasley's assistant. Hi, I say, stepping into the office and throwing my arms open wide like I'm making an entrance in a musical. I'm back! I give it a good poltergeist spin because I'm all about doing movie catchphrases whenever possible. Hello, hello, hello. Wow, there really is an echo in here, and she's sitting behind the desk. Yes, says Miss Griswold, so I see. Miss Sharon and Caroline Jean Griswold will be so pleased. This was their idea, not mine. Okay, the words are her own. The sneer, pure Beasley. Miss Hart, she continues, as your new temporary, non-permanent, and provisional camp director, I'd like to give you a word of advice. Something I learned while I was earning my Master's of Fine Arts degree. Ashley Jones is a star. She might be difficult and a diva, but stars often are. Not Latoya Sharon, I want to say. She's kind of generous. But I don't say anything because it's clear the new acting, and to use that term loosely, camp director wants to hear only herself speak. In fact, I think Gecko is trying to earn a new nickname, Monologue. So she blah blah blahs and yada yada yadas for 5 full minutes. Finally, she tells me that I'm welcome to participate in next Saturday's showcase. The one that Henry Hendricks is coming to? I say. Miss Griswold looks surprised. Oh, you've heard all about that? All the way down New Jersey? No. Miss O'Mara just told me on the way back to camp. She's my drama club advisor. She's also besties with Latoya Sharon. We did Anne together on Broadway when they were kids. They had a real dog at their show. I give Echo a look. Just so she knows she knew that our dog scouting excursion was a wild goose chase, even though dogs were involved instead of geese. This Saturday's showcase will be a talent show, the temporary camp director informs me. You may perform solo or in a group. For instance, if you want to dance, please dance. Echo lets that hang there. Okay, fine. She knows that when it comes to dancing, I have 2 left feet, which, by the way, would make it very difficult to go shoe shopping. Gotcha, I say, straightening up, hoping I'm dismissed. One last thing, she says. At this Saturday's showcase, there will be absolutely no improvisation. This is a theater camp. Theater is a dramatic celebration of the written word, be it those of William Shakespeare or Gilbert and Sullivan. Therefore, all material must be scripted, not made up on the fly. Fine, I tell her, because I know that a lot of the most famous improvisational companies, like Second City in Chicago, take their best improvised bits and polish them into written sketches. Maybe we'll do that. When I'm finally free to leave Miss Griswold's office, Brooklyn, Michael, and Brandon are waiting for me in the hall. We heard a rumor that you were back, says Brooklyn with a grin. Yeah, I say. I just need to run down to the Jersey Shore this morning, walk my dog, and then come back up here. Speaking of dogs, where's Sandy? My mom took him home. Your mom was here? Says Michael. How come you didn't introduce us? Because Brooklyn was embarrassed to be seen with us, quips Brandon. And can you blame her? I know I can't. Brooklyn laughs. Mom was in a hurry. She had to go to a very important early morning meeting. On a Sunday? Says Michael, arching a skeptical eyebrow. What can I say? Brooklyn shrugs. Mom's a busy, high-powered woman. Those are my favorite kind, I say. So who wants to do something fun and funny for next Saturday's showcase? What are you thinking? Asks Brandon. A skit, I say. Something I write that shows off Michael's singing, Brooklyn's dancing, and your wickedly dark wit. What will you be showing off? Asks Michael. Oh, no. Maybe just me. Chapter 48. My friends and I spend the rest of the week going to classes, which, by the way, are so much better now that Mr. Beasley's gone. and working on our sketch comedy scene. We're all super nervous and excited about Henry Hendricks, the big shot talent agent, seeing us perform in the closing night showcase. We have butterflies in our stomachs, and not just from singing outdoors in the woods near a butterfly bush. I write us a pretty funny bit that'll be simple to stage. All we need is a cafe table and 2 chairs. Brenda and I will play a snooty couple out to dinner at a fancy New York City restaurant where everybody on the staff wants to be on show business. It's kind of a funny take on how all the waiters in New York City are really wannabe performers of some sort. Michael will be our singing partner, Brooklyn our dancing server. In the skit's final twist, we reveal that, in this particular restaurant, even the paying customers, Brandon and me, are wannabe actors, or in Brandon's showcase, a wannabe juggler. It's one of the special skills listed on his resume. A bit's pretty hysterical if I do say so myself, but hello, it just did. A couple of campers watch us rehearse it, so do some of the staff. They all agree. We're funny. We're also having a blast working on it together. Ashley Jones, of course, does not drop by any of our rehearsals. In fact, we don't see her around camp at all very much during the week. I imagine that she's moping in her Star of the Summer cabin, pining for the good old days when Mr. Beasley turned Camp Footlights into Camp Ashley with an exclamation point. But she will be in the Saturday showcase. In fact, when Miss Griswold passes around the running order, it shows Ashley Jones going on right after Restaurant Review, which is the title we came up with for our piece. Before we know it, it's Saturday. We've had a tech rehearsal and our dress rehearsals. Now, finally, we have our audience. The dressing room is buzzing. The smell of pancake makeup and hairspray is in the air. I peek through the apron and see Miss O'Mara and Miss Sharon in the middle of the auditorium. I might see Henry Hendricks, too. I can't be sure. I have no idea what he looks like. Miss Griswold gives our audience a little speech to start the show. Another closing, she says. Another show. We've all learned so much this summer here at Camp Footlights. We've made new friends and lost others. She drops her eyes. I think she's observing a moment of silence for Mr. Beasley. The audience grunts in their seats and someone coughs. I'm guessing they all heard why the former camp director was given the heave-ho. They're not really interested in honoring him with any sort of moment of silence tribute. Finally, Miss Griswold makes a grand gesture to the red velvet drapes behind her. Curtain up, she proclaims. It's showtime! 5 amazing acts go on before us. There's singing, dancing, dramatic readings, but not many laughs. We hope to fix that. Brooklyn and Brenda and I are waiting in the wings, ready to go on right after the guys doing the sword fight from Romeo and Juliet. Not the scene or the words, just the sword fight. As the swords thunk, Michael joins us. Weird, he says. What? I whisper. Ashley, her costume isn't in the dressing room. Neither is she. She's probably just outside, suggests Brooklyn, warming up her voice, doing some breathing exercises. Maybe, says Michael, but usually she's in her chair doing hair and makeup until it's time to make her first entrance. I heard performers dying on stage, but this is ridiculous. On stage, the Shakespeare sword singers fake stab one another, clutch their fake rounds, and topple to the floor, moaning and groaning in their dramatic fake deaths. Blackout! Forget Ashley, you guys, says Brandon. We're on! Chapter 49. As the audience applauds, the swashbucklers grab their gear and scramble off stage in the darkness. That's our cue to push our props into place. A few seconds after we're settled in position, the lights come up. Yes! Brenda and I are framed by the hot white circle of my trusty Super Trooper spotlight, which somebody else is wearing for our sketch. I'm super nervous. My family isn't in the audience. They could only make that long trip to Camp Footlights for the first Saturday showcase. But I know Henry Hendricks is. More important, I know Miss O'Mara and Miss Sharon, my biggest supporters and boosters, the 2 women who believed in me before I believed in myself, are out there. I want to make them proud. I hear everybody on the staff at this restaurant really wants to be in show business, I say to Brandon as we both slice prompt food on our plates. Really? Says Brandon in a snooty lockjaw voice. In New York City? What a surprise. This earns a knowing laugh from the audience. Michael makes his entrance as the singing waiter. How are you finding everything? He trills the standard waiter question operatically. With our eyes and unfortunately our noses, says Brandon. This fish has gone bad. Brooklyn swirls in, making her jazzy, leaping entrance. She scoops the roper fish off Brandon's plate with one hand and spanks it with the other. Bad fish, she scolds the prop. Bad, 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 bad. The audience is doubled over with laughter as she twirls on stage. I said, there's a fly in my soup. Shh, not so loud. Everyone else will want one too. When I said I wanted a role on Broadway, I should have been more specific. Oh, wait, person, I say to Michael. What's this fly doing in my soup? Michael leans in to examine my soup ball. I would give you the classic answer and say the backstroke, but that looks more like water aerobics. More laughs. Perhaps we could bring you something else? Says Michael with a very stiff bow. Fine, huffs Brandon. We'll just have a cheeseburger, no onions. Right, says Michael, jotting a note on his order pad. Extra onions. I said no onions. Right, sir. Double onions. I don't want any onions at all. Very good. I'll make sure you have them all. And would you like a little wine with your meal? Oh, I say, a little wine would be marvelous. Brooklyn leaps back on stage and does a few aerobatic toe twirls, and she and Michael start to whine very annoyingly. Wah! They cry. You two don't like our fish or onions. Wah! Well, says Brandon, what do you suggest we eat? Michael snaps out of the wine. He gestures to the sound operator up in the booth. Hit it, maestro. A karaoke track from the classic Broadway musical South Pacific comes thumping out of a pair of speakers on stage. Michael starts singing. He's magnificent and funny all at the same time. We got shrimp, we got beef, we got chicken out our ears. We got beets and sticky cheese that no one's ordered in years. We got crepes, desserts, crab croquettes, all sorts of fancy food. What ain't we got? Food that's good. The audience applauds. So do Brandon and I in character. Are you an actor? I ask innocently, batting my eyelashes. Shouldn't you be starring in a musical comedy on Broadway? Asks Brandon. Oh, yes, says Michael modestly. However, could you tell? Because I'm an actor too, I say, springing up out of my seat, grabbing a roll from the bread basket, and launching it into a parody of a famous Shakespeare soliloquy. Alas, poor dinner roll. I knew him, Horatio. Michael gasps. How'd you know my name is Horatio? I shrug. It's on your name tag. Now Brooklyn comes back on stage. She's ballroom dancing with a coat rack. I wanted to work in the coat check room, she says, but I couldn't get the hang of it. While she Ginger Rogers her way across the stage with her wooden partner, Brandon grabs 3 dinner rolls and starts juggling them. I love New York, he shouts. When you go out to eat at a nice restaurant, everybody's in show business, even the customers. And we end by singing our own wacky version of There's No Business Like Show Business. We add a line, except maybe the restaurant business. The audience loves it. We have to take 2 curtain calls. Even though the falling spot is blinding us all, I can make out Miss Mary and Miss Sharon. And both on their feet and finger whistling like they're trying to hail a cab. Wow, Brooklyn whispers to me as we take yet another bow. I'm so glad Henry Hendricks decided to come this weekend. Me too, I say along with Michael and Brandon, but as soon as we're backstage, we learn the sad truth from Echo. Mr. Hendricks never picked up his ticket. Chapter 50. I cannot believe he went to the Beef and Boards Dinner Theater instead of coming to see my first show as an interim part-time temporary camp director, says Miss Griswold. Mr. Beasley did this to me. He's trying to make the worst one-week job of my life. She's so upset. I have a feeling she'll never echo her old boss again. She stomps away, biting her fist so she won't burst into tears. That's probably where Ashley went, says Michael, putting 2 and 2 together. Mr. Beasley gave Henry Hendricks the wrong address, so the only town we'd be seeing tonight would be Ashley. The Camp Footlights talent show is taking its 15-minute intermission early because the final number of the first act, Ashley, didn't show. She's up the road entertaining the prime rib and roasted potato crowd. Latoya Sharon and Miss O'Mara come bustling backstage to tell us how great we did. Thanks, says Brandon, sounding so sad. You think somebody had just squished his s'mores in the dirt to make the marshmallows crunchier. Yeah, says Brooklyn, sounding equally bummed. I'm glad you two saw it, I say, trying to silver-line the dark cloud of gloom hovering over all our heads. You guys? Says Miss O'Mara. What's wrong? Yeah, says Miss Sharon. Typically, when someone comes backstage to tell you how good you were, You say, "Gee, thanks," and get all giddy. Ashley and Mr. Beasley went again, says Michael with a sigh. Miss Sharon is confused. What do you mean? They hijacked our talent scout, he tells her. Henry Hendricks is over at the Beef and Board Dinner Theater, where Mr. Beasley is the artistic director. And we use that term loosely, says Brandon. I remember Beef and Boards, says Miss Sharon. It was where I was a camper, too. She turns to Miss O'Mara. Good thing the rental company didn't have that Mustang convertible I reserved. Huh? I say. Miss O'Mara smiles. All they had left was a big boxy van. With plenty of room for all four of you kids, says Miss Sharon. Come on. Where are we going? I ask. Over to Beef and Boards. We're taking this show on the road. We told Miss Griswold where we're going. Good, she says. If you see Mr. Beasley, tell him I hope he breaks a leg. Literally. Nobody says much during the 5-minute van ride from Camp Footlights to the dinner theater. I think we're all too busy fuming and vowing revenge. Kids, says Miss Sharon, looking up at us in the rearview mirror. Don't be so glum. Just try to remember what the great Muhammad Ali said. You don't lose if you get knocked down. You lose if you stay down. Wow, for a comedy group, we look pretty tragic. So, says Miss O'Mara, turning around to the front passenger seat, it's time to get up. You four have another show to do. A repeat performance of Restaurant Review. At the dinner theater? I say. Miss O'Mara nods. Yep, because that's where Henry Hendricks is. Brandon raises his hand to ask a question. Yes, says Miss O'Mara. How are we even going to get on stage? Mr. Beasley won't invite us to perform. And, says Brooklyn, it isn't open mic night. Behind the wheel, Miss Sharon smiles. Kids, leave getting on stage to me. Chapter 51. Miss Sharon slips the Beef and Boards box office person her platinum card. We're in. The 6 of us make our way into the dimly lit dinner theater. The whole place reeks of beef grease and canned green beans. Up on the thrust stage, Ashley is sparkling in the lights. She's in another of Michael's sequin-studded gowns. She smiles down at the bald guy who's seated at a front row table, buttering his dinner roll. I'm guessing that's Henry Hendricks. Mr. Beasley sits right beside him. He's beaming. For my next number, Ashley says, her voice very husky and breathing, I'd like to favor you with a little something from my most recent one-woman show, Ashley with an exclamation point. That's a number I wrote, the lyrics and the music. I call it My Best Friend Is Me. Find a seat, guys, whispers Miss Sharon. We're going to make our move right after Ashley takes her final bows. She turns to Miss O'Mara. Come on, Kathy. We need to hit the ladies' room. Bring your makeup bag. 5, maybe 10 minutes later, Ashley finally wraps things up by belting There's No Business Like Show Business. She's practically shouting it down at the first row. Poor Mr. Hendricks. He may need to take a shower to clean up after the spittle spritz Ashley just gave him. When Mr. Beasley clicks the stop button on his boombox and her musical accompaniment ends, Ashley blows the audience, aka Mr. Hendricks, a kiss. Thank you all for coming out tonight, she gusses. Thank you all for making tonight so super duper special. Next stop, Broadway. The dinner theater crowd applauds, politely. I also hear a lot of forks clinking plates. I just served dessert. Chocolate cake with a raspberry on top. Ashley makes her grand exit stage left just as Miss Sharon, looks stunning in a simple dress and cardigan, enters from stage right. She sparkles when she steps into the lights, and her shimmering has nothing to do with the sequins or glitter powder. Hiya, folks, she says and waves to the crowd. The audience gasps. They can't believe how lucky they are. Did Grammy and Tony Award-winning superstar LaToya Sharon just step on stage at the Beef and Boards Dinner Theater? Oh, yes, she did. Wasn't Ashley terrific? Says Miss Sharon, doing a fingers to palm pitter-pat of a clap to the wings. That girl's going places. You know, she sort of reminds me of me. When I was young and so full of hope and dreams, all I really wanted to do was to make it to Broadway and maybe 42nd Street. Suddenly, Miss Sharon launches into the song, 42nd Street. The crowd goes wild. She's doing it a cappella, of course, because Mr. Beasley bought boombox cassette tapes only for Ashley's numbers. Plus, the former camp director looks so shocked, with his eyes popping out, I don't think he could push a button if his life depended on it. His table-mate, Mr. Hendricks, is smiling from ear to ear, wowed by the awesomeness that is LaToya Sharon. When she finishes the line about coming to meet those dancing feet on the avenue I'm taking you to, Miss Sharon suddenly stops. Hold on, folks. Wait a second. Why am I just singing about dancing feet when I have a marvelous dancer here with me tonight? The audience gasps again. They turn into their seats, hoping to catch a glimpse of some other Broadway superstar who just happened to drop in at Beef and Boards tonight. In fact, Miss Sharon continues, I think this young woman is the finest dancer in all of New York. Of course, I'm a little biased. She gestures toward the audience, toward our table way at the back, because my daughter, Brooklyn Sharon, is here with us this evening. What the what? Says Brandon and Michael. I'm sitting there with my jaw hanging open like I'm a ventriloquist dummy without a ventriloquist. Brooklyn is LaToya Sharon's daughter? Could you get me another autograph? Whispers Michael. Brooklyn winks at him. Maybe. Then she gives me a funny, whoops, sorry, shrug, like maybe she forgot to mention something super important. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Sharon says on stage, I think with a little encouragement, Brooklyn just might come up on here and make this a mommy-daughter number. The audience cheers and whistles and chants, Brooklyn! Brooklyn! Brooklyn slides out of her seat and scampers up the aisle to the stage. Hang on, Mom, she shouts. I'm coming. The audience laughs and cheers. Brenda and Michael turn to each other. Did you know? Nope. Did you? Nope. I start realizing stuff I should have realized sooner. Last Sunday, when Miss O'Mara drove me back to camp, Brooklyn's mom came up to Camp Footlights because she had to go to a very important meeting, the board meeting about firing Mr. Beasley. And that's why Mr. Beasley always seemed slightly afraid of Brooklyn. He knew who her mother was, even though Michael, Brandon, and I didn't. This might also explain why Brooklyn didn't want to come with us when we all busted down to the city to see Miss Sharon's Broadway show, and why Brooklyn never tells anybody her last name. Wow. I snap out my thoughts long enough to take in the show. The mother-daughter number is fantastic. LaToya Sharon sings while Brooklyn Sharon does the incredible choreography. How she dances the tennis shoes, I'll never know. Then, as a bit of an encore, Miss Sharon slides into singing The Lullaby of Broadway, and Brooklyn improvises some amazing moves and steps. Madame Lamond would be proud. Come and meet my daughter's dancing feet on the avenue I'm taking you to. When they finish, the whole crowd, except Mr. Beasley, gives the duo a standing ovation. Henry Hendricks is applauding louder than anyone. He's also shouting, Brava! Brava! And me? I'm clapping until my hands hurt, but my jaw is still hanging open. Brooklyn is LaToya Sharon's daughter? Chapter 52. Why didn't you tell us? I whisper when Brooklyn scampers back to our table. Her mom is still on stage, doing a number from Birds of a Feather, the Broadway show all of us except Brooklyn saw down in the city. Brooklyn shrugs. Hey, you were the girl who did a Shakespeare show with a famous Broadway superstar this summer, but you never even told anybody at camp about because you wanted to show them that you were truly something special, just by yourself. True. Well, I lived with LaToya Sharon my whole life, and I'm me, Jacky, not LaToya Sharon's daughter. I insisted that she not tell anybody at camp that we're related. I want people to judge me for who I am and what I do, not by what my mother's done. I nod, because yeah, it kind of makes sense. You guys, says Brandon, get ready. I think she's about to introduce us. Thank you, says Miss Sharon up on stage. You're too kind, but how about we keep the show going? My daughter Brooklyn isn't just an incredible dancer, she's pretty darn funny too, especially when she's sharing the stage with her friends. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Brooklyn, Brandon, Michael, and Jacky. It's time for their restaurant review. Miss O'Mara helps us grab a pair of chairs and our table. We carry it all to the stage. As we're setting up, I notice that Mr. Beasley has his head in his hands, because Henry Hendricks is sitting up like somebody who just had a delicious cup of coffee right after a long nap. I don't mean to say that he slept through most of Ashley's musical stylings, but... Anyway, girls, to make a long story a little shorter, we're a hit. A smash hit. All the jokes land. We get more laughs at the dinner theater than we did back at Camp Footlights. Michael's singing is fantastic. Brooklyn's dancing is amazing. Brandon and I are pretty funny too. We also get a standing ovation when we take our bows. There's no business like show business, I know, except maybe the restaurant business. And of course, everybody, Mr. Beasley isn't joining in with everybody else. In fact, he's gone. He must have left when he knew we wowed the crowd. That bad fish slapping bit works every time. When the house lights come up, we shake hands with the audience. You kids are amazing, says one guy with Russian dressing on his shirt. Amazing. I eavesdrop on Miss Sharon's conversation with Michael. I mean to tell you back at camp, she says. You have an incredible voice, Michael. Incredible. If you don't mind, I'd like to tell my vocal coach about you, and my agent, and the producers of Birds of a Feather. We need an understudy for the part of Joey. Michael's eyes get a little moist. Somebody has seen him for who he is, not what other people tell him he can be. And that somebody is, hello, Latoya Sharon. As the surprise twist, we discovered that Madame Lamont was in the dinner theater audience. Monsieur Beasley requested my assistance with Ashley, she says, crinkling her nose disdainfully. But I am afraid there is only so much one can teach to one who thinks they already know there is to know. Have a you, Brooklyn? Mwah! Tu es incroyable, ma belle amie. I think she told Brooklyn she was incredible. Now Henry Hendricks comes up to me. Catherine O'Mara tells me you're Jacky Hart. Yes, sir. And you wrote that sketch? Yes, sir. How old are you? Almost 13. He reaches into his suit and finds a business card. Keep it up, kid. And in just over 5 years, when you turn 18, give me a call. I take the business card. Hello, Mr. Hendricks. Ashley has come into the auditorium. I can tell by the raccoon circles of smeared mascara under her eyes that she's been crying. For the first time since I met her, I feel sorry for Ashley Jones. She's just like the rest of us. A scared kid who wonders if she'll ever have what it takes to make it into the show business. Isn't Ashley fantastic? I say to Mr. Hendricks. I'm sure you could tell from her show she's a triple threat. She can sing, dance, and act. And me? I'm what they call a single threat. I make people laugh or run away. That's what they do if I sing or dance. Mr. Hendricks laughs and shakes his head. He reaches into that suit pocket again and pulls out another business card. He hands this one to Ashley. Give me a call. You'd be terrific in commercials. And there are all sorts of touring musicals. Believe it or not, he nods towards me. With a recommendation like that from Jacky Hart, I'm willing to give you a shot, kid. Brandon leaves with a business card, too. In fact, that impromptu talent show at Beef and Boards more or less launched 5 different careers. So you see, Grace and Tina, doing scary stuff, like crashing a dinner theater show, can sometimes lead to all sorts of what Madame Lamont might call incroyable stuff. Brandon Maloney went on to become a fantastic stand-up comedian. Ashley Jones was cast almost immediately in a tooth whitening commercial, the first of many, and went on to star in a soap opera where she's had amnesia several times. And of course, you guys know what happened to Michael because you met him last year when we went backstage after singing Les Miserables. Plus, we have all his albums, and that hot crush I might have had on him, it chilled before summer turned to autumn. Of course, you also know that Brooklyn Sharon now choreographs for the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater in New York, and that she and I still get together on a regular basis. And me? Well, 2 weeks after my 18th birthday, Henry Hendricks helped me land a spot in the writer's room for Saturday Night Live. Yes, girls, I started out as a writer before I became a performer on the show. So, Grace and Tina, I want you to have a great summer this year, like I did way back in 1991, even though I didn't know I was having such a wonderful time until after it was almost done. There really is no business like show business. I know you two are both about to do things that might scare you, but those scary things might also take you places you never thought you could go. So come on, step outside your comfort zone, take a few risks. But please, promise me one thing. You'll never climb a Ferris wheel to hell at the moon. It's dangerous, and besides, it's already been done. That was me being me. You two just need to do you. The end. I hope you enjoyed the story, everybody. And thank you so much for joining me for this two-parter story. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, and be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. This is Zhane signing off, and saying see you next time in my cozy corner. Take care, everybody. So long.